Assalamu alaikum. Rahmatullah barakatuh. How are you? Why just 2 students today? Where are the others? Yes. What about your other friends? Where are they? Yes, Noura and what hotel? Okay, on Saturday I gave you a class. Remember I told you about the compensatory class that we missed during the first week. And I told you that I'm going to give you the class on Saturday. I mean the day before yesterday. But nobody attended the class. I don't know why. Anyway, I gave the lecture. You can listen to it whenever you have free time. Also today, I'll try to go over quickly the phonological rules I discussed or I talked about on Saturday. And then we start our new lesson. So here I talked about the classification of phonological rules. First, we divided them into major kinds: assimilation, dissimilation, insertion, and deletion. I started talking about the assimilatory rules or assimilation. We defined this and we said it's a phonetic process in which a sound becomes more like a neighboring sound with respect to some features. Assimilation is a common process, meaning that it's natural and it's widespread. It's common, you find it in the languages of this world. And this type of rules actually is called feature changing rules, because here we have a change of a feature, whether it's related to voicing, the change from voice to voiceless, and vice versa, the features of the place of articulation or the manner of articulation. Here we have some divisions of the types of assimilation. We have partial assimilation, total assimilation. Ing and 5 tense, we have the change from na to ing because it's followed by kaf, from alveolar to velar because it's followed by a velar sound. In 5 tense, we have the va becoming a fa, voice to voiceless because the following sound or the neighboring sound is ka, which is also voiceless. Then we said we have total assimilation. If you look at the word horse in isolation and then shoe again as a separate word, if you put them or reduce them together as one unit, you're going to say horseshoe. This is similar to what we have in Tajweed, Lam al-Shamsiyya or Lam al-Qamariya. We say al-Qamar, but we don't say al-Shams, we say ash-Shams. So here we have identicality of the two sounds. They are produced as if they are one. We call that total assimilation. Also, we have another division which is regressive assimilation and progressive assimilation. Like in ing, here we have the ka influences the ing, whereas in play, the pa influences the following sound, which is the la here. Also, we have another division which is voice assimilation and place assimilation. Voice assimilation is a phonetic process in which a sound is influenced by another sound, and we have the feature voicing exchange. Either we have a voice sound becoming voiceless or a voiceless sound becoming voice, depending on the environment, whether it's going to be the preceding sound or the following sound. News in isolation ends with za, but when you add paper to it, you are going to produce this as newspaper. Newspaper. We don't say newspaper. So za is plus voice becomes sa minus voice, because the neighboring sound here, which is the following sound, it's minus voice. Place assimilation here, the change of feature is related to the place of articulation. Like for example in ink, we have the na becoming ing because it's followed by ka here, and alveolar sound becoming velar because it is followed by a velar sound. Sometimes an alveolar sound becomes bilabial because it is followed by a bilabial sound. Like here, a good example from Arabic, the word amber. We write it a and noon and ta and ra, but what we actually produce is a and ma and then ta. So in pronunciation, the ma is realized, not the na. Why here we have this change, or why we produce it this way or articulate it this way? Na becomes ma, na alveolar becomes ma bilabial because the following sound is bilabial also. Then we talked about assimilatory processes and rules. We started with voicing. The voiceless sound becomes voice before or after a voiced consonant. Remember the S plural, and dolls, mops, and doves. The S plural sa is produced as za because here in these examples from English, it is preceded by a voiced consonant, which is the ga and the la and the ma and the va and the pa in mops. Also, we have an intervocalic voicing. Intervocalic voicing. This happens whenever we have the sound occurring between two vowels. We have the sound occurring between two vowels, like here in present or present and resent. Sa, we write it as sa, but what we actually produce is the. So sa voiceless becomes za voiced because it occurs in an intervocalic position, that's to say between two vowels. Devoicing is the opposite. Here we have a voice sound and then it becomes voiceless, again because of a neighboring sound. So one sound assimilates to the other, and if it has to do, the change has to do with voicing because the neighboring sound is a voiceless sound here. Like the word haps and lips in Arabic, the ba is a phoneme, but here it is produced as pa, which is considered an allophone. The ba becomes a pa voiceless because the neighboring sound here is the following sound, sa. So it affects the pa and changes it from a voice sound to a voiceless sound. In English, we have the same, which is the example we discussed before, 5. When you add pens, 5 pens, now va and pa and two neighboring sounds. It's going to be influenced by the following sound, which is a voiceless one. And that's why we have the change from va, voice, to pa, voice, that's voiceless. Because it's followed by voiceless pa. Can you write me a rule now for this change? Can you write a rule for this change we have here in 5 pens? Can you write a rule, ya Jama'ah? Nora, where are you? So we write it this way: the va becomes a fa because it is followed by pa. Under the sounds, you can, between square brackets, you write voice or plus voice if you want to use the plus and minus. Minus voice because it is followed by pa. Underneath, between square brackets, you write minus voice. So in this way, it is complete. So you put the features under the segments على طول. طيب, we move to liquid glide voicing. Here we have the voiceless la here. The voiced la becomes voiceless because the preceding sound is voiceless. So always you have to check the environment, the preceding sound or the following sound, and it might be both. Vowel nasalization. طبعا we talked about this so many times and expect you to know that very quickly. Here the vowel is nasalized before nasals. We know that in the English all the vowels are oral, but sometimes they are nasalized in a certain context when they are followed by a nasal consonant. طبعا here if you look at seen and seem, the na and the ma are nasals. So here we have the rule, minus nasal becoming plus nasal, and you put the segment between slants and then between square brackets, then the environment, the sloping slash, and then the dash and the C for consonant plus nasal. Or we can list the sounds. Palatalization here, where it's a process in which we have alveolars becoming alveopalatals, like in this example from American English, we wish you, to please you, we want you, and did you. The sa becomes a sha, za changes into ja, and cha, ta to cha, da to ja. Alveolars, they form a natural class. The first group, alveolars, becoming palatals, because here they are followed by the ya. In all the examples, they are followed by the sound ya. Ya is a glide, but it is considered palatal because the tongue is raised to near the palate because in the production of this sound. In Egyptian Arabic, we have similar examples. The word ukhti, في الحجاز we say ukhti, but our Egyptian brothers and sisters, they say ukhti, a'adi, احنا نقول أقعدي, we produce the da as da, whereas the Egyptians produce the da as cha, aji, aji, similar to did you. Is this clear? What I'm doing now is a repetition of the previous class, and then we continue. Remember the example from Japanese, shimasu, it is produced by these people as shimasu. Shimasu, the sa becomes a sha. It's the same case, alveolar becoming palatal, like we miss you. If you look at ukhti and naoji, the neighboring sound, which follows, the sound that has undergone the change, it's E sound. Again, if you look at Japanese, again, it's E sound. So sa becomes a sha before the E sound. In ukhti, sa becomes a cha before the E sound, before the high front tense vowel. Alveolar stop assimilation. The ta and the da and the na, these alveolar stops immediately preceding. When they precede a labial consonant, they take the same feature labial. If they precede a dental sound, they become a dental sound. For example, here, impossible, the na alveolar becomes ma bilabial because it is followed by bilabial sound, which is the ba here. With the da, if you say wide, you are producing the da as an alveolar da. With, in this case, it is produced as a dental da. Why? Because it is followed by an interdental sound, which is the sa. If I look at the rule, we have da between slants and da. Look at the mark underneath. It's for dentality here. For dentality because it is followed by sa, which is also dental. Again, in this, the na becomes a dental na, from alveolar to dental. You can write the features underneath. From alveolar to dental because it is followed by da, which is also dental. Vowel harmony, in this process, actually this process is not common. It's not common, you don't find it in all languages. It restricts the vowel sequences that occur in a word by permitting only certain sets of vowels in successive syllables. Either all of them are going to be back vowels or all of them are going to be front vowels. We call this process a long-distance assimilation. Long-distance assimilation, and we by it. They are not neighboring sounds, like in the other cases. This long-distance assimilation causes all the vowels in a word to agree in one or more features, such as backness or frontness. All the vowels should be back, or all of them are going to be front. Turkish is well known for this type of assimilation, vowel harmony. In Turkish, they have two forms of the plural morpheme. They have lar and they have ler. They have lar and ler. Lar is the main, it could be the main sound, and then we have a change to ler. But when can we choose lar and when can we choose ler? The nature of the vowel in the immediately preceding syllable is going to determine the choice of one of these forms. So the vowel in the preceding syllable is going to let the speaker either to choose lar or to choose ler, depending on the vowel. If it is back, then they're going to choose lar. If it is front, they're going to choose ler. Let's have a look at the Turkish vowel system. This system has two heights. We have high and then high. And we have here, if you look at these sounds, we have 4 columns, and then we have 2 columns on the left side hand. Here we have the E, it's minus back, minus round, and plus high. The U, with 2 dots, it's considered the front vowel. So it's minus back and أصلا front, and plus round U because we are protruding the lips. E, it's plus back and minus round, and U, the regular U like the one in English, plus back, plus round. Minus high vowels, we have the A, it's minus back, minus round, minus high. We have the U, it's minus back, because it's considered front, plus round and minus high. A, it's plus back, minus round, minus high. And the O, it's plus back, plus round, minus high. Look at this data from Turkish. Güler means roses, ziller means bells, iller means hands, gözler means eyes, adamlar, men, gular, postage stamps, collar, arms, and hisler means girls. Look at the first group. In A, we have the ending ler. In group B, the ending is lar. All of them are plural. But here it is used ler, and here we are using the form, or the Turkish people use the form lar. Why? The choice of lar or ler depends on what? On the nature of the vowel in the immediately preceding syllable. If you look at the preceding syllable in A, we have U, we have I, we have A, and we have O. If you go back to the Turkish system, you find that these are plus high and they are plus back. Sorry, minus back, meaning they are front. That's why here we have the choice of ler by the speakers. In D, the vowels in the preceding syllable, Adam, Pul, Gol, and Giz, these are back vowels, and that's why the speaker chose lar but not ler, because it contains the back vowels. So the choice of one of these makes harmony in the word. All the vowels are going to be either front or back, all of them in the word. Finish also, it's here the back vowels become front when preceded by a front vowel in the same word. For example, here the suffix sa meaning in. Talo means house in Finnish. Talo means house. If we want to say in the house, we are going to add the suffix sa. So the word is going to be talosa. Talosa. If you notice the vowels in the preceding syllable, they are given in red. These are back vowels, and that's why the form sa has been used here, tolasa. But look at metsa. Metsa, it ends with a low front vowel, meaning forest. If we want to say in the forest, we have to add the suffix to the word, to the stem. Here, the word is going to be metsasa. Metsasa. The vowel is front in sa because it has to agree with the vowels in the preceding syllables. If you check the preceding syllables, their vowels are front. So here they harmonize, and that's why the speaker used the form sa of the suffix in to agree with the previous vowels in the previous syllables, so they harmonize either in frontness or in backness. Dissimilation rules, these are opposite to assimilation, because here the two neighboring sounds become less alike, not like in assimilation, more alike. The causes for such type of rules or processes is not known. And actually these dissimilation processes or dissimilation rules are not common. They are less common than assimilatory processes and rules. For example, manner dissimilation, here the change from the fricative th to the stop th. In words like fifth, many people produce it as fifth. The th is produced as th. The cause is not known here. It's just it happens like this. Then we moved to we talked about insertion. This causes a segment or a sound segment not present at the phonological level to be added, to be inserted at the phonetic level or the phonetic form of the word. So it was a zero, and then we inserted the segment while producing the word. Examples from English, like for example here, the voiceless stop insertion. The word dance, many people produce it as dance. They insert a t in the middle, between the n and the sa. Hamster, if you try to say it so many times, you find yourself producing a p after the mas. Although if you look at the writing, the orthography of the word, the pa is not used as a letter, but here we produce it as a sound after the ma. Why pa in particular? Because here the ma is bilabial, so it's easier to produce another bilabial sound. We cannot produce kha or qah or ra or la. It's really difficult. Idea, many people produce it with a ra at the end. They insert a ra, idea. Wished, they insert a ta in its final position. In Old English, empty, the word we write in modern English, empty, E-M-P-T-Y, we write the pa as a letter and we produce it as a sound. In the Old English period, if you trace the history of English, in the Old English period, the word was written E-M-T-Y without the pa. But because the people kept inserting the pa in their pronunciation of such words, it became part also of the writing system. So the word nowadays is written with ma followed by pa. In Hijazi Arabic, especially في منطقة الحجاز, and especially in Mecca, the word hummus, many people produce it as humbus, especially old people. Again, here the ta is inserted because it's preceded by the bilabial ma, because they cannot say humkhus, for example, or humlus, or humbus, or humqus. It's difficult, but it's easier to put the same place of articulation. Types of insertion, we talked about epitasis, which is adding a consonant in a final position. And we talked about epenthesis, which is adding a vowel or a consonant in any position but not in initial position. Like, for example, humbus, and the addition of a vowel to break the cluster at the end of this word. For example, shahr, shahar, samin, samin, we say samin. طبعا if you check the people in Masr, the Egyptians, they say shahr, they say samin. Even الشام أظن they say samin, إحنا we say samin, shahr. Always we break the cluster and we insert a vowel in the second syllable. Furn, we say furn. Film, we say film. So instead of having one vowel, here we have two vowels. We insert the vowel in the second syllable to break the cluster, the consonant cluster. Processes adding a vowel in initial position, like for example these words from Spanish. Spain, they say España. Even in Arabic we say España. Escola, escola, they say for school, they say escola in Spanish. So here the wasn't there at the phonological level, but it is inserted and produced in the phonetic level when we produce the phonetic form of the word. And the environment is because the word begins with S followed by a consonant. Deletion, when you delete a sound or eliminate a sound, and this applies mostly whenever we have unstressed syllables in casual speech. Like, for example, we have ha deletion in unstressed syllables. He handed her his hat. We, in natural speech, we say he handed her his hat. The ha is deleted, and his also, it is deleted because these particular items or lexical items are not stressed. R deletion. In British, many British delete the ra when it occurs in a final position, like teacher. Instead of teacher, the Americans say teachers, keeper, but the British say teacher, keeper, worker, without reducing the ra. But if this ra is followed by a vowel, which is the beginning of another word, like for example, her father arrived, it is followed by arrived. In this case, the ra is reduced. You cannot say her father arrived. His father arrived. It's not nice, and it seems awkward. So here the ra is reduced because now it occurs between two vowels. What about Nami, Fatam? Just Noura? It's following. What about the others? Vowel deletion also occurs whenever we have unstressed syllables, especially in having a vowel preceding liquid. In such words as police and believe, I can say police and believe, or I believe, I delete the schwa. The police. Alveolar deletion, sometimes we delete alveolar da and ta in utterances like you and me, and you must be here, you must be here. If I'm stressing the word and, I'm going to say you and me. I'm going to reduce all the sounds. You must be here. You must be here. Then I'm going to stress on the word. I'm going to produce ta as ta. You must be here. Other processes, the aspiration rule and or process, flapping rule. Remember we talked about these. Aspiration, the voiceless pa, ta, ka become aspirated whenever they occur initially, followed by a stressed vowel. This type of rule is considered a strengthening rule because it gives strength to the sound, because we are producing the sound with a puff of air, so it makes it stronger. Flapping, here we have the cha and the da, the alveolar stops ta and da become flap in again certain environment in between two vowels. This rule is considered a weakening rule because it weakens the sound. So the alveolar stops become a flap between vowels, or we say in an intervocalic position like letter and ladder. The ta becomes a flap, or the da becomes a flap between two vowels. Reduplication is another process, and this is a very common process and well known. It's widespread. Here we copy part of the word and then attach the copy to the original word. Like for example, willy-nilly, walkie-talkie, helter-skelter, wee-wee, poo-poo, hunky-bunky, kit-kat, etc. Metathesis is the reordering of the sounds or the transposition of sounds. Like for example, if you have A and B and then you switch B and A. Instead of A and B, it becomes B and A. For example, the word ask, many people produce it in natural speech as axe. خلاص واخدين على كده. They produce it as axe. Tragedy, they transpose the da and the ja. They say tragedy. Relevant, it is produced as relevant. The la and the fa here are reordered. In Arabic, we have so many also words that are produced like for example this way. I mean, they are mil'aga. Many people say mi'laga. Aranib, many people produce it as an Arab. Juaz, which is aslan zawaj. Joz, aslan zoj. Falsafa, many people say falsafa instead of falsafa. So again here if you check the sounds, some of them are neighboring sounds, some of them are not. But here we have a reordering of these sounds or position of these sounds. In Egyptian Arabic also we have some examples. Hufra, most of the Egyptians, they produce it as fuhra. So the ha and the fa here. Masrah, many produce it as marsah, the ra and the sa. We have sa and ra, but in the other word it becomes ra and sa. Can you give me more examples? Do you have more examples in your dialect or any other dialect of Arabic? Can you think of other examples? No more examples? Right, okay. Also we talked about vowel lengthening and vowel shortening. I'm not going to repeat this again because it's clear. Then we talked about sound substitution. Here when you replace a sound by another, or you find another sound and put it or use it as a substitute because the sound does not exist in your sound inventory. For example, a French person learning English, he's going to produce thin as sin and then as zen because these two sounds are not available in his sound system. and that's why he resorts to sound substitution. He substitutes the ta by sa and the da by za. In English, if an English person learning Arabic, he's going to produce the sound kha as ka, as in khali and kali. The sound a as in Ali. This is going to be produced as Ali. And halawa, the sound ha by ha. Halawa, barab, is going to be replaced by the da. The sound da will be replaced by da. All these rules are either obligatory or optional. Some of them are obligatory, some of them are optional. And if you check, for example, the aspiration rule, the vowel nasalization, lengthening, liquid devoicing, all these are obligatory. We have to produce them like that. In the case of palatalization, you can say I miss you or I miss you. You can say did you or did you. Ukhti, you can say ukhti or ukhti. If you produce it both ways, then we say that this is an optional rule. So all these types of rules, whether obligatory or optional, they are responsible for the variation in our speech, and this depends on the rate of the speech and its style. Why we have phonological rules? Why do we have phonological rules? First, we said to convert the phonemic form, phonological form of the word into its phonetic form by using some rules. Some rules make sequences of the sounds easier to produce or easier to pronounce, like can be or can be. Hummus, amber. Some make sounds easier to perceive via your ear, as when voiceless stops are aspirated at the beginning of the stressed syllable. Remember, we said that the strengthening rule is going to give strength to the sound, so it's easy to perceive it. Insertions and dissimulations may also contribute to ease of articulation and perception as well in some utterances. So here, remember I told you about this supplementary material, language files, materials for introduction to language and linguistics. I hope you got this book, because in this book, and from now on, we'll focus on data analysis, how to solve phonology problem, how to analyze the phonological structure of some languages, English, Arabic, and many others. So we are going to cover file 4.2 and file 4.3 in phonological rules and how to solve phonology exercises. So if I want you concerning the phonological rules, I want you to study from your main textbook and from the pamphlet you are going to buy from Khawarizmi, language files, the supplementary material. I want you to study from both, because your main textbook does not give all the types. So if you go to study from language files as well, it gives most of the processes we discussed in class. Now we'll talk about formal rules and rule writing. You'll find this in chapter 9. To represent the phonological processes and to know how they work, phonological rules are often used. Phonological rules, as we said before, they can be expressed in the form of a statement or in linguistic notation, linguistic formula. That's to say, we use the phonetic symbol, like transcription. For example, here we have A becomes B because it occurs between X and Y. We are going to write the rules this way, using a linguistic formula instead of using words. Any rule consists of phonological segments that undergo some change, which involves some change in their feature. Some change in the feature, whether this has to do with voicing, the change from voice to voiceless or vice versa. This has to do with the place of articulation, like the change from alveolar to bilabial because it is followed by labial, or manner of articulation like the change from affricative to stop. Okay, there are rule devices that we use for rule writing. First, we enclose the sound segment in its phonemic form or underlying form between two slants, like the sound na. Try to remember the word ink. Okay, and then the sound after the change, we put it between square brackets after the arrow, the sound segment in its phonetic surface form. Then we use the arrow. The arrow stands for what? For becomes or changes into. This is the meaning of the arrow. Then we try to set the environment. We put a slant, sloping slant, and a long dash, and then for the phonetic environment, depending on the environment. If the sound occurs initial position or final position, we use the boundary mark. If there are changes in the features of place and manner of articulation, for example, then we put if it is influenced by the preceding sound or the following sound. We also use this mark or device for boundary. Here we have two lines crossing each other. We call that word boundary. If the sound occurs in initial position, we're going to write it this way, as you can see here on the slide, boundary mark, and then the long dash, final position, long dash, and then it closes off the word by a boundary, word boundary. For transcription, especially narrow transcription for writing the rules, I want you to go back to Rojo's book and study the superscript and the subscript, the diacritics. You have a section on diacritics in the first or second chapter, I think. We are given narrow transcription of some words plus using the diacritics. Like, for example, here the rule that says in a form of statement, vowels are lengthened before voiced consonants. We talked about this before, but let's repeat. How can we state this in a formula? Now, I don't want words in English, just I want formula. So in this case, we are going to put the sound before the change between slants, after the change between square brackets, and you put the features underneath, then the syllabic while, and then the environment. Again, please take care of the environment. Like, for example, here the vowels are lengthened. The vowel, it's short here, but here it is lengthened. That's why we use these two dots. Why? Because it is followed by a consonant that is blood voice, or in other words, voiceless, voiced. We go back to our example in which we have place assimilation, change in the place of articulation. The alveolar n becomes a velar ing when followed by a velar consonant. N in finger, it becomes alveolar becoming velar because it is followed by the ka or the ga velar. Here are other examples of flapping. The rule here says that the tah alveolar becomes flap alveolar because it occurs between two vowels, or it occurs in an intervocalic position. So tah alveolar becomes a flap, as in letter and wetter, between two vowels. Pot and spot. Here we have aspiration, and we know because of its initial position followed by a stressed vowel. Teacher, keeper. Here we have insertion. We put the ra before the change in the underlying level, then comma, and then we put 0, slants, and then we put the boundary in which we used word boundary. So Rah here goes to 0, it's deleted in other words. Rah goes to 0 because it occurs in a final position. So here we have examples of flapping, aspiration, and deletion. The aim of the book here is to capture a generalization. Like the word bank and the word anger. Here's the na and the na, all of them are followed by a kaf or by ing. So na alveolar becomes velar because it is followed by ka, which is alveolar. The na becomes ing, it's alveolar to velar when it is followed by the ga. The na becomes ang, alveolar becoming velar because it is followed by a velar consonant. So see the way of writing the rules? I want you to do the same. Here we have pot and spot. Pa becomes aspirated in the initial position before a stressed vowel. Tick, stick, it's the same story. And kit and skip, the same story. Can you put them in one rule? We said that the aim of phonologists and linguists is to reach generalization. So instead of writing 3 separate rules for all of them, I want to make it one rule. Can you do that? Try to put this in one rule. يا جماعة اليوم مرة ما في تجاوب. ولا أنت فتحتوا ورحتوا مكان ثاني. Nobody is with me here. طيب just you ونورة. حتى فتن بس حاطة اسمها when she's in but no. ليه نور أول محاضرة لكي؟ إحنا خلاص we are about to finish. Next week, next Wednesday we are going to stop. أنت فين من أي منطقة؟ من أي منطقة يا نورة؟ في جدة؟ مكة. غريبة ما أعرف. طيب أفوت ما تختصي مرة وما نسمع عنك. Okay, try to reduce this into one rule. Instead of 3 rules, we want just one rule. You write C and then arrow and then C. Under C you write plus voice plus stop. Then you, after the arrow, you put square brackets. Again the same features, plus voice plus plus voiceless plus stop. And then we add aspirated, the third feature. Then we state the environment with sloping slants, and then we put the boundary mark and then the dash and then the verb with a stress above it. So instead of writing 3 rules, we write just only one rule that applies for all of them. So here we managed to reduce the 3 rules into one rule to make a generalization. Look at the pa, ta, ka. Here is the rule after the reduction. The pa, ta, ka becomes ta aspirated, ta aspirated, and ta aspirated in the environment when it is followed. The city, when it is occurs initially and followed by voice, an unstressed vowel, Or we write it like this: C becomes C, and then under that we write the features, like what the first type I told you about. minus nasal becomes plus nasal because it is followed by a plus nasal. So minus nasal, when we say minus nasal, we need plus oral. So here minus nasal oral, in other words, oral becomes nasal because it is followed by a consonant that is also nasal. Or we say it in using the feature system, nasal and minus syllabic and minus nasal become plus syllabic and minus nasal because it is followed by nasal and consonantal. Now try to complete the following the following ones. E and then E. Oo. Oo. Why is it? We have the change. You have to state the rule. Yalla. Try to give me a rule. Or finish the rule. The rule is given, part of it, the change. Now you have to give me the environment. يلا يا جماعة, try to do something. انت نورا ما حتشتغلي معانا the first time you attend, and فتن مرة بعيد. I feel that she's sitting كده at the end of the class. Okay, try to take these as homework. When you study the whole lessons concerning the phonological rules and writing the rules, try to do these two as homework. Next time we'll talk about phonological analysis, how to deal with, how to solve phonological problems or how to analyze the phonological structure of languages. Do you have any questions concerning our lesson today? And I tried to give you what I gave on Saturday, the lecture I gave on Saturday, and nobody attended. So I repeated the whole thing plus our new lesson, which is formal writing of the rules, formal writing. Any questions? Is everything clear? Right. So try to study, try to concentrate, do some practice in order to be able to pass the final exam, inshallah. خلاص, no question? Shall I stop? طيب, السلام عليكم. Yalla, please leave the room.